Hello, welcome or welcome back. I thought it would be fun to go through some of the books that I've read so far this year that I would definitely recommend to friends. So I've read, I know March isn't over yet, but March is almost over. I think I've read around 24. I've read around 24 books so far, and I have 7 to recommend. A lot of them, I mean, honestly, it's been a really good reading year. I only had a couple of duds. One of them, Woman Down by Colleen Hoover. Oh my god, I can't even get over how much I did not like that book. I just can't even tell you. Yeah, anyway. But these are some of the shining stars, if you will. The first one is Scaffolding. I finished this book and I was initially disappointed. And then the more time I spent reflecting on it, the more I could understand and appreciate really how wonderful this story was and how many different elements of novels I really enjoy. For instance, the writing, the way the writing is structured and the flow of the sentences and the words that are used. It's really beautifully written, which makes it really enjoyable to read. We're following 2 separate timelines. We're in the same apartment though, and I think that was really fun too, because it's not something that I think about super frequently. Like, I think about being somewhere that other people have been and wondering what their experience was versus what my experience is in the moment. I don't do that often, and this book really brought that to light for me, or to the forefront of my mind, because in 1972 we're following Florence and Henry, who are remodeling the kitchen, and then we flash back to Anna and David in 2019, and they're starting to change some of the apartment, and they're changing what Florence and Henry had ended up remodeling the apartment to look like. And just those little minute details really make it such a relatable and truthful story. Both of these couples are going through their own versions of evolution, prompted by tragedy and a changing in themselves and really what they want from life. So Anna and David had a miscarriage, and now she's trying to figure out, like, where does she go from here? She hasn't been able to work because the grief has just been all consuming, and that's basically what the story is telling us, or what the story is exploring. Navigating the loss of her child and the people that come in and out of her life that enable her to really heal from such a traumatic event. And Florence and Henry are Florence and Henry are figuring out how to grow together when they're actually growing apart. And what does infidelity mean in a marriage? And how do you overcome that? And do you? So really, lots of really good themes. And I'm probably going to have to reread this, because I think there's a lot that I missed or didn't appreciate at the time when I was reading it. A Sociopath's Guide to a Successful Marriage. If I could have stayed in this book forever, I would have. Like, this main character, Lala, is so unhinged. Obviously, it's a sociopath's guide, so she is the sociopath, and she's just desperate to get everything that she wants in her life, no matter the cost and no matter who it impacts along the way. Like, she does not care. If her daughter doesn't get into this school that she wants her daughter to get into, you better believe she's going to do anything and everything that she can, outside of the bounds of any sane human being. And she's like that with everything, even the simple things that she wants in life, like the new bigger house in the better suburb. And it's like, how is she gonna get there? Anyway, it's just it's so fun. It's so fun. And her friends they really add a lot of life to the story, one in particular. So this is just fun, easy, like it's not complicated at all. It's just a delight. And We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And this was by M.K. Oliver. I didn't say that. Oh my gosh. I love this book so much. It was such a good thriller. I bought the next one, or the prequel to it, Family of Liars. I haven't read it yet, but it's a great thriller. The pacing is wonderful. The characters are very enjoyable, even though they're teenagers. You can still, like, it doesn't feel juvenile. The book doesn't feel juvenile. So, and I found it to be quite shocking. And maybe, again, I keep saying that I found it to be shocking. And maybe I'm just a dum-dum and everybody else could see what was going to happen. But I had no idea. I was like, I audibly gasped when I was reading this because I just had no idea that that's where we were going. And that's so nice. Finding Flora by Eleanor Florence. We are following Flora, who has moved to Canada from Scotland with her husband in the hopes of a better life. He turns out to be an absolute piece of crap. He's abusive and manipulative and just the scummiest of people. So she escapes by jumping from a train and finds herself in this rural town on her own in 1905, when, if you're a woman, it's very difficult to be alone and make anything of yourself. She finds a way through the help of friends and the help of people that she meets along the way. She's able to get permission to own land and to build a farm, a homestead, and just learn how to be resilient and self-sufficient and become this strong and powerful woman and build beautiful friendships with the other women around her that are farming. Of course, the town doesn't want her to have any of this. They don't want any of the women to have land because, God forbid, a woman has a career and is successful on her own. So the town does try to take their land away from them. That's not spoiling anything. But these women, you don't mess with them. So in that sense, in every sense actually, this book is really satisfying. But don't back down to injustices. They dedicated their blood, sweat, and tears to building this farm and contributing to society in a meaningful way. And they're not just going to let people step all over them and take what they rightfully own just because they're women. It's just not going to happen. So it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So Old, So Young by Grant Ginder. Ginder. Oh my gosh. I just can't tell you how much I love this book. I did not want this to end. I could have read this for like 1,000 more pages. There are 6 main characters. We toggle back and forth between their lives and their points of view on similar situations. And these 6 characters, they're all friends. They grew up together since like university. And ultimately we're tracking all of them and the fluctuations of their relationships and their friendships over the years as they grow up and graduate and have different careers, get married, start families. Some don't have children. Watching all of these characters as they grow up over a couple of decades and how they diverge from one another and converge again depending on the time period they're at in their life, and how that just translates so naturally to real life, everyday life. Like, you know, if you're a single person and one of your friends is married, they have kids, then you do start to like really become kind of unrelatable to each other, or you just have different interests and different needs and different focuses, which not necessarily strains a relationship, but just you kind of gravitate towards people who can better understand your current situation. And it's just raw and honest, really, really wonderfully told. And I think the most important thing that I took from this is that the memories and shared experiences that you have with your friends, the more that you have, the earlier in life that you have them, the more deeply you're bonded, more that friendship will endure the test of time and all of these different experiences that we go through as we age. So this is a really special book. Like, this one hit me, and I really just, I love it so much. The Raven Scholar. So this is a fantasy, but it's like a murder mystery. So there are 8 different courts or houses, all different, representing different animals, and depending on your personality traits and, yeah, kind of more just depending on your personality and your skill set, you kind of fit into one of these houses. So the ravens are very, very intelligent, but with language and writing. Foxes are very cunning and sneaky and sly. Tigers, strong, ferocious. You don't want to mess with them. So I can't remember how many years, but every so often there is a battle for the throne to become the Emperor of Orin. And somebody from each house is selected to represent that house, but also to be the candidate to become the new emperor, based on multiple different trials that everybody has to go through. It just so happens at the time that the raven who is going to be participating in this is murdered. So Nima is challenged by the current emperor to solve the murder. And also, as a result, she ends up having to compete, and she's not wanting to do that whatsoever. And it's really fun trying to figure out what the motive behind the murder was, how the different houses, I'll call them, how they do in different trials, and how their different skill sets enhance or hinder their ability to be successful in winning and becoming emperor. And it's twisty. Like, there's some flashbacks to previous battle for the throne and how that impacts present day. I think this book, while it's long, it was pretty quick to get through, but it also sets up the rest of the series really nicely. I found like there was enough detail and enough action that it did keep you interested and wanting more. So it's like, this wasn't a 5-star by any means, but it sets the tone to just have the series continue to get better and better with time. Next book I just loved so much was James by Percival Everett. I found this to be, it was so unique. It's such a unique lens that, so it's told from the perspective of Jim, who is a slave. And being in his mind and seeing kind of through his eyes how he navigates life, raising a family, and trying to stay in the good graces of the white people that own him. Like, watching him toggle between what this family believes a slave should be and sound like and act like, versus what he is like at home with his family, and just how well educated he is and how deeply invested in teaching his children how to read and speak appropriately, or with a cadence that is not like what a slave is expected to talk like. Ultimately uneducated. That's what the perception is, that slaves are, inferior to their families and to the white people. Anyway, he ends up finding out that he is going to be sold. Not his family, but just him. So he escapes because he doesn't know where he's going to end up, and he doesn't know if he's ever going to be able to come back and find his family again. So he escapes, and journey is it's dark, but there are moments of levity and unlikely friendships that Jim makes that make this book so stunning. And James's bravery and courage through all of the harrowing things that he has to go through and witness was so artfully written, and I found it, while horrific, because again there are still even so many parallels with that book in compared to our day and age now. It's like you still see similar types of injustices, and it's just like they're right in front of your face, but how is everybody ignoring them? So that was a really frustrating aspect of the book, but that's part of it. That's the whole thing. Like, people can be blind to what's right in front of them, and if you don't question the status quo, then nothing will ever change. Even if you don't think something is right, you can easily fall in line with everybody else who's agreeing that this is something that is acceptable to do, and this is an acceptable way to treat people. But anyway, it was his ability to maintain that hope, like getting back to his family, getting back to his wife and his children, and making sure that they didn't get sold and they didn't get separated. That determination and grit made this story and made that character just beyond special. That book that's a must read, in my opinion. And now, on a really different note, Dear Debbie is the last book by Freida McFadden that I wanted to talk about. Oh my God, this Debbie, listen. If there is a woman in this world who refuses to take shit from anyone, it is her. She is going to, speaking of seeing injustices, she sees an injustice, and you better believe that she's going to take care of it. She might not confront you directly or other people, but she is going to make sure that you get served what's coming to you. And there are some things that she does with her daughter's boyfriend, who is an actual piece of crap. I mean, I shouldn't say he's a teenager, but whatever. Like, there's something that he is threatening her daughter with, and it's like reading those scenes through, I don't want to go into too much detail, reading those scenes through, it's so cathartic, because it's like so many women have been there, and you're like, yes, this is exactly what we want to do in this situation. This is how we want to handle it, because you, little boy, do not get away with this kind of treatment of young girls or women. Like, this is just unacceptable behavior, and I'm going to be sure that this never happens again between you and another girl in the future. That aspect of it is, yeah, it's really cathartic. And there's there's a lot of these kinds of stories. And she also has a column and with a paper, so women write in asking for advice, and she'll write back like the generic things that you kind of, oh, gardening, this is what you do with this flower to make it flourish. But in the background, we have her typing out what she really wants to say, and it's like, oh, my husband is taking and keeping all the money from me, and it's like, okay, well, this is what you can do, and when your husband is doing this, it would be best to ask him why this is happening, blah, 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 and then you can slowly start adding poison to his meals. I don't know if that's the exact example for that story, but it's things like that, and yeah, I think it's funny. It's meant to be, it's not meant to be funny, but it is kind of like dark comedy vibes. I'm laughing at this character and how, again, unhinged she is, and just how over it she is. She's like, okay, if this is going to keep happening, we're going to change it. We're going to change the reality. Anyway, there's another scene that happens with the gym teacher and him being super inappropriate with the high school girls. And let me tell you, you don't mess with Debbie. You just don't. So it's just a good and satisfying, fun book, if I do say so myself. Yeah. Anyway, so those are some of my recommendations so far from all of the books that I've read.